Welcome to my review of the Logitech G640 mousepad, a pad that is supposedly the most used one by pros in Valorant. I've been giving this mousepad a thorough playtest, so hopefully I'll be able to find out if this is something special or if it is maybe just down to sponsorship obligations where the pros are legally bound to use the mousepad. There will be links in the description if you are interested in buying this mousepad, and we also bought this ourselves with our own money. Well, was it my money? This mousepad comes in one size, which is 400mm by 460mm, which is a perfect size for most if not all games unless you're using a crazy low sensitivity. Pad is also around about 3mm thick. So for the packaging, this pad comes rolled up in a tube. However, despite it being rolled, this pad was actually pretty easy to get flattened, as it did so within a few hours or so. As this is a soft pad, it's a standard cloth surface which Logitech say is perfect for low DPI gaming and that it's been specifically tuned for Logitech sensors. The top is unfortunately not stitched, which is annoying as there can be cases where the top of the pad comes apart from the rubber base. Also, because this pad is quite thin, there is little to no sponginess to the pad, and I'll go on to this a little bit more in a moment. For the bottom side, you have a standard rubber base that is textured that keeps it on your desk. I haven't had it move around at all. I think maybe the only issue I've had with this is that the thinness is very noticeable, which I guess in some ways is a standard, but I think for some pads having such a thin base really make it easier to fill any lumps on a lower quality desk. I say that this pad is more on the control side, so it's less snappier when moving around the mousepad often, but making more minor adjustments is a lot easier. For a shooter like Valorant and CSGO, which require both precision and accuracy, this would be really beneficial. I have found though that the speed of this pad is maybe more influenced a lot more by the weight of the mouse than anything, as there is a more noticeable difference between mice that have maybe around about 10 grams more weight difference, which I don't normally notice on some of my faster pads. In-game use was pretty much fine. I think that this mousepad hasn't really stood out to me massively. I've mainly been playing Apex Legends with this and I've had no complaints, but I still prefer a slightly faster pad for Apex just because of how often you might swap targets during a fight, as well as how fast players can move around. For maintenance, the pad survives a nice wash with no problems, and it helps give it a nice new feeling. I'd recommend just some lukewarm soap and water and give it a nice gentle scrub with a cloth. Because the cloth and the rubber can come apart from each other, scrubbing it too hard might speed up that fraying. Naturally, this will be alleviated with having stitched edges, but this mousepad just doesn't have it. I've owned this pad before and the cloth did peel away from the rubber base, so I had to bin it. If you don't have your arm perfectly straight on the pad, then you will probably experience this issue. The cost of this is around about $38, £34 or €40 at the time of this review, which for a pad that has no stitch edges isn't a good price point. So overall, at the current price that's available, I can't recommend it, just because there's others at the same price point or cheaper that have stitched edges, and honestly, if you're someone that wants to buy a mousepad and have it last for a while, is a must have. It's in no way a bad product, but for the asking price there are just better options. Having said that, if this was at a lower price, so if you can find one on offer, then I'd say it's worth getting. It does its job though. It is still a good pad, but honestly it's just a bit too expensive, and I also don't see the advantage that this one has over some of the competition. I guess because it's thin, it does roll up a little bit better, so that's maybe one thing it has over the others. As I said, I had actually used this before, and this was the mousepad that I'd used at LAN, where I had to buy a terrible PUBG SteelSeries map as a base and put this one on top of it because it literally felt every single lump on the desk.